Today is February 5th. Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, faces legal challenges over access to U.S. Treasury payment systems. On Polymarket, around $500 in volume reflects a 59% chance of court intervention by February. President Donald Trump's proposal to take over the Gaza Strip has low odds of U.S. military involvement, with around 16% yes and 84% no on Polymarket, amidst over 8,100 trades. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's deal with El Salvador to deport migrants shows around 53% odds on Polymarket for enactment by April 1st, with a trading volume reflecting high interest. Now let's dive into today's stories in detail. The story centers on Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and its controversial access to the U.S. Treasury's payment systems. This access has ignited legal and political disputes with concerns over privacy, security, and potential misuse of financial data. Lawsuits from unions and advocacy groups, along with critical statements from lawmakers, highlight the broader debate about private influence over government operations. The controversy traces back to DOGE's creation during the Trump administration, tasked with identifying inefficiencies in federal spending. However, its access to sensitive data has led to legal challenges. The abrupt resignation of a senior Treasury official opposing this access has raised further alarms among lawmakers. Recent headlines reveal multiple lawsuits against DOGE's access, with critics, including Democratic lawmakers, voicing concerns over privacy and national security. The Treasury Department claims DOGE's access is read-only, focusing on efficiency, while Musk states the initiative aims to cut government fraud. Odds on Polymarket indicate around 59% chance that a U.S. federal court will block or limit DOGE's access by the end of February, reflecting participant concern over legal actions. On X, users are divided, some seeing efficiency gains, others worried about privacy risks. News outlets criticize the move, citing potential legal and ethical issues, with calls for oversight from lawmakers like Ron Wyden and Elizabeth Warren. The implications are significant, with legal challenges possibly leading to court intervention that could restrict DOGE's access. If courts act, it may set a precedent for limiting private control over government systems. Meanwhile, scrutiny from lawmakers and public protests could push for transparency reforms. Let's move on to the next story. President Donald Trump has proposed a controversial plan for the United States to take over the Gaza Strip. This plan involves resettling the Palestinian population and potentially using U.S. military forces to support redevelopment efforts. He announced this during a press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on February 4th. This proposal marks a drastic change in U.S. foreign policy, which has traditionally supported a two-state solution and Palestinian self-determination. The plan has sparked widespread criticism from both allies and adversaries, raising concerns about legality and humanitarian implications. Trump's announcement follows a 15-month conflict between Israel and Hamas, which ended in a fragile ceasefire in January. The situation in Gaza remains dire, with significant humanitarian challenges. Trump's plan aims to transform Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East, but critics are concerned about potential international law violations and regional stability. The odds suggest a low probability of U.S. troops entering Gaza, with yes at around 16% and no at around 84%. Reactions on social media and news outlets are sharply divided. Some, like House Speaker Mike Johnson, support Trump's vision, while critics, including Palestinian leaders, oppose relocating Gaza's population. Yemen's Houthi rebels have called the proposal American arrogance. The implications of Trump's plan could lead to geopolitical shifts and increased tensions in the region. It could destabilize the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and complicate U.S. relations globally. Let's move on to the final story. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has announced a groundbreaking deal with El Salvador. This agreement allows the deportation of illegal migrants and violent criminals from the U.S. to El Salvador, regardless of their nationality. Rubio calls it the most extraordinary migratory agreement anywhere in the world. El Salvador will now house these deportees, including U.S. citizens, in its prisons. This has sparked major human rights concerns as critics worry about conditions in El Salvador's prison system. President Nayib Bukele confirmed the deal, saying it supports El Salvador's prison system. However, the U.S. must negotiate payments for housing deportees. This agreement marks a big shift in U.S. immigration policy. It's a new approach to handling non-citizens, sending them to El Salvador for detention. Odds stand at around 53% for yes and around 47% for no. The market opened on February 4th, with activity rising as people speculate on possible legal challenges. Opinions are divided. On X, some express skepticism over human rights issues, while others see it as practical for U.S. immigration problems. News outlets discuss the legal and humanitarian aspects of deporting U.S. citizens. This deal may reshape U.S. immigration policy and could lead to similar agreements with other countries. Legal challenges are expected, particularly over deporting U.S. citizens. And before ending, a word about our sponsor. As a startup founder, finding product-market fit is your top priority. But landing bigger customers requires SOC 2 or ISO 27001 compliance, a time-consuming process that pulls you away from building and shipping. That's where Vanta comes in. By automating up to 90% of the work, Vanta gets you compliant fast, opening doors to next-level growth opportunities. Whether you're closing your first deal or gearing up for growth, Vanta makes compliance easy. Get $1,000 off at vanta.com/notboring. That's vanta.com/notboring for $1,000 off. So, well, each of the stories we covered today is ongoing and may change dramatically. For updates and detailed odds, head to polymarket.com. That's all the news that's fit to predict. This is me, Packy McCormick's voice, signing off. May the odds be ever in your favor.